The topic of this video is solving one-step inequalities. For the most part, solving an inequality is very similar to solving the equations that you already know how to solve. For example, solving an inequality simply means isolating the variable, just like solving an equation meant isolating the variable. So, we're going to find and graph the solution to the inequality n minus 8 is greater than or equal to negative 18. So just like I would in an equation, I need to get this negative 8 away from the n. It needs to go over to the other side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 8 to each side of the inequality. And so I'm going to get n is greater than or equal to negative 10. So this is the solution to my inequality. N is greater than or equal to negative 10. And now I need to graph that. I'm going to put a closed circle at negative 10 because it's greater than or equal to. And then I'm going to shade all the way to the right because it's greater than, making sure to shade in my arrow. Now we'll look at a second example. In this example, we're going to solve k over 2 is less than 3. So to isolate the k, we're going to need to multiply on both sides by 2, which gives me, my 2's are going to cancel out, and I'll have k is less than 6. Once again, this is the solution to my inequality. Now to graph it, since it's just a less than, I'm going to put an open circle at 6, and since it's less than, I'm going to shade to the left, going down into all of the lower numbers, and I'm going to shade the arrow to show that my solutions keep going to infinity. Our third example is where we're really going to see the difference between solving an equation and solving an inequality. So to solve the inequality negative 3a is less than negative 21, we need to start by dividing both sides by negative 3. So we know that on the left side we definitely get a, and on the right side we definitely get 7. But when we divided both sides by negatives, that turned our answers into positives, meaning that what used to be bigger is now smaller, and the side that used to be smaller is now bigger. So what we have to do to account for the fact that the side that used to be the smallest is not anymore is we need to take this inequality sign and we need to flip it the other way and make it a greater than instead. If we hadn't done that, the inequality would no longer be true. Now that we've solved the inequality, we can graph. At 7, we'll put an open circle because it's simply greater than. And now that it's greater than 7, that we flipped our sign, we can shade over to the right. We'll do one last example to finish up. In this inequality, in order to isolate p, we need to multiply both sides by the reciprocal of negative 3/4, which is negative 4/3. So on the right side, my negative 4/3 cancels out with my negative 3/4, giving me just a p. And then on the right side, I'm multiplying by 6 over 1. And I see that my 6 can cross out with the 3 to become a 2 and a 1. So 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Now, because I multiplied by a negative, I again changed which side is bigger or smaller. So that means that I'm going to have to flip my sign and make it less than or equal to instead of greater than or equal to, leaving me with a solution of less than or equal to 8. Because again, when I multiplied by negative 4/3, I changed which side was bigger and which side was smaller. So to graph my solution, I will draw a closed circle at negative 8 because it's less than or equal to. And since I'm going less than, I'm going to shade to the left and color in the arrow over here. So what we've seen in the last two examples is that when you're solving an inequality, and any time you either divide or multiply by a negative, you're going to end up changing which side of the inequality is bigger and which side of the inequality is smaller. So this leads us to our big takeaway point for this video. It's a rule for inequalities that whenever you multiply or divide both sides of the inequality by a negative number, you need to flip the inequality sign. So multiplying or dividing by a negative, you have to flip like we did in this one. The greater than or equal to became a less than or equal to. The end.